Right. So, what is the role of local government in delivering services to the public, and how are its powers controlled? You might be wondering, what responsibilities does local government have in service delivery, and to what extent are its powers and actions controlled under UK constitutional and administrative law? Local government in the UK operates under powers delegated by Parliament. It has no inherent powers and must act within the limits of its statutory authority, which is known as the ultra vires doctrine. Some of the key legal principles and controls include statutory powers. So, local authorities may only act within the scope of powers granted by legislation, like the Local Government Act 1972 or the Localism Act 2011. There's also the general power of competence under Section 1 of the Localism Act 2011, which gives local authorities the power to do anything individuals can lawfully do, unless restricted by legislation. When it comes to service delivery functions, local government is responsible for a wide range of public services. This includes housing, education, social care, planning and development, waste management, public health, and transport and infrastructure. So, when we talk about control mechanisms over local authorities, there are several key ways this happens. First, there's judicial review, where courts can step in and review local authority actions for things like illegality, irrationality, or procedural impropriety. Then, you've got statutory oversight. Basically, central government can issue guidance, approve budgets, or even intervene directly, for example, by appointing commissioners. Citizens aren't powerless either. They can complain to the local government and social care ombudsman if they think there's been maladministration. Financial controls are also important, with auditing bodies and strict rules on public spending keeping things in check. On top of all that, there's democratic accountability, since local councillors are elected and have to answer to their local constituents. And, of course, freedom of information and transparency laws apply to keep everything open and above board. Local authorities really are at the front line of public service delivery. So, for example, in housing, councils might set up council housing associations and manage waiting lists for people in need. When it comes to education, they're responsible for maintaining schools and allocating places to pupils. In social care, they assess needs and provide support services to those who require extra help. But it's important to remember, their powers aren't absolute. If a local authority acts outside its statutory framework, its decisions can be challenged through judicial review. Like, say, a housing allocation scheme ignores statutory guidance or uses unfair criteria, that can end up in court. Plus, financial limitations and central government policy have a huge impact on what local authorities are actually able to do. Austerity measures, for instance, have really squeezed local budgets and made it harder for councils to innovate. Even though the Localism Act of 2011 gave local authorities more flexibility with the general power of competence, courts still keep a close eye to make sure any use of that power is consistent with legal duties, as we saw in R. Peters v. Haringey, LBC. Local government plays a vital role in delivering key public services that touch our daily lives. But its powers are definitely limited and controlled through things like legislation, judicial oversight, and political accountability. Even though there have been recent reforms aiming to give local authorities a bit more autonomy, there are still effective checks in place to stop any abuse of power and make sure everything stays within the law.